What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G.S. and Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. Today we're talking Raw Talk for August 29, 2022. In the studio, the show hosted by Jackie Redmond and Matt Camp, being joined by Jerry Lawler as their special guest analyst for the episode, unfortunately. To start off the episode, they recap the ending to Raw on Monday that saw Aaliyah and Raquel Rodriguez become the new WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. Not an outcome I'm specifically excited about, but it did happen, so we'll see where it goes. And I'm willing to give it a chance, but my initial reaction is that I thought it was the wrong call when you could have gone with Dakota Kai and Io Sky instead. But regardless, from there they run down the biggest headlines from Monday's show, including Edge and the Mysterios fending off the Judgment Day to start off Monday Night Raw. Matt Camp says that the Judgment Day may have more motivation to win that match or Clash at the Castle that's going to see Edge and Rey take on Judgment Day's Finn Balor and Damian Priest, because they want to retire. They literally said this multiple times here on Raw Talk and on Raw. They want to flat out retire Edge and Rey Mysterio. Lawler says that may not exactly work out in Judgment Day's favor, because Rey Mysterio and Edge, they're going to be feeling the pressure to not retire come Saturday, and they always thrive under pressure, he says. Jerry Lawler says he also was not surprised by Rodriguez and Aaliyah winning the women's tag team titles. As he picked them from the get-go, he's really high on Rodriguez and says big things are coming her way. In the back, coming back from commercial break, we hear from Finn Balor, who says that no one cares about social media, what people are saying on Twitter and Instagram and whatever. He proved on Raw that he was a legend, that he is deserving of his own A&E biography special. Damian Priest kind of adds on to that by saying that he will send them into retirement come Saturday at Clash at the Castle. I don't think we got to hear from Rhea Ripley here, which was a shame. Rhea's awesome, so that was a bummer, but I thought this was a good interview from them. Then they went back in the studio, and then they went immediately to Edge. So they did the interviews right back to back, which I thought was great, kind of dueling promos from Judgment Day and then Edge. We've heard from Edge we've heard from him quite a bit here on Raw Talk in the last month or so, which I think is great. But anyway, he said that a lot of people have tried to retire him. All of them have been unsuccessful, both him and Rey, that is. And Saturday is going to mark, which I could not believe. He said Saturday is going to mark the first time since Survivor Series 2002, 20 years ago, that him and Rey have teamed up. I know they teamed up in that six-man on SmackDown, the first show, unless he's forgetting about that, but I assume he's talking about a standard singles match, him and Rey only. Okay, so they did team up in that six-man tag team match against the Bloodline on that first SmackDown in front of fans in July of 2021. Beyond that, though, he's probably right, because Edge was mostly a heel, prior to that point, earlier on in his career when Rey would have been there, so he might be right. I would really have to check on that, but if so, that's pretty cool. He says that they love each other like friends, they respect each other, and that's something the Judgment Day do not have in common. They would turn on each other in a heartbeat. And that was it from Edge, but a really good promo, though. Back in the studio, Matt Camp says that Judgment Day are going to get what they asked for come Clash at the Castle. Be careful what you wish for type of situation, he says. Before recapping the Riddle and Rollins exchange from Raw, that great side-by-side, I thought that was great. Not only what we got beforehand, but also the post-commercial break. You weren't supposed to see this footage, and though they aired it anyway. The whole, Rollins making fun of Riddle for being divorced and whatever, and Riddle getting really fired up. That was fucking great. That was excellent. I would really hope we get to see more of that sort of stuff in the future, because it adds a sense of realism to a lot of these matches going into pay-per-views like this. And it sold me on them. I was already looking forward to the match, but that sold me more on the match than I was already. That was wonderful stuff. Matt Camp, even in the studio, acknowledged their personal history that goes back well before this past summer. And that's why I was wondering, Rollins kind of alluded to that a little bit on Twitter and during that interview, and they got kind of right down to it in that post-interview minute exchange there when Rollins really got under Riddle's skin. Matt Camp brought that up here. He didn't bring up the specifics of the situation, but for those unaware of what I'm talking about, what they alluded to here, it was only, I think maybe 3 or 4 years ago, maybe back in 2019, that Riddle, his wife at that time, who was, has since divorced, his wife at that point made a comment about Becky Lynch and her physique. Really uncalled for, fucking dumb. Obviously, Rollins did not like that, as you would expect, and Riddle kind of took the shit from it because that was his wife, and I think he ended up apologizing for it on her behalf, even though she should have apologized. Maybe she did, I don't remember, but it was a clown comment. We'll just say that much. And they had some bad blood after that, and Rollins probably didn't want to work with him, but they've since worked with each other quite a bit. I think they had They were on opposite ends of a Survivor Series match, I think in 2020, so that was years ago. They've since, buried that hatchet, although they're incorporating it now into their actual feud on TV, which I think is great. So anyway, from there they recapped the Kevin Owens and Jey Uso match, which was really good, also recapping the Street Profits Alpha Academy match, which was also really, really good. Angelo Dawkins, in their interview backstage with, I think, Kevin Patrick, makes fun of Otis and calls him dumb or whatever. He also talks drinking milk with Kurt Angle on Raw. And before he can make a comment about wearing Steelers colors, because he's not a Steelers fan, and obviously he's a Bengals fan, before he can clarify that, Montez Ford cut him off and said, "The Profits don't take time off. We're not gone for 6 months. We're always here, and we want to find out who vandalized their bus." And these two are two of the dumbest people in the entire show. Clearly, they do not watch SmackDown. It was made pretty obvious that it was Maximum Male Models that were behind that because they thought Hit Row was in the bus. So clearly they do not watch their own product, and sometimes I can't blame them for that. But yeah, maybe they'll pop back up on SmackDown to tie up that loose end. I'm not sure. I thought that was kind of random. Maybe they'll do another backstage segment of the pay-per-view at Clash of the Castle. Who knows? But yeah, that was that. And this was a fine interview from the Profits, but what I was left wondering, coming out of this interview, coming out of their appearance on Raw, what happened to the aggressive Montez we were kind of seeing a little bit of at SummerSlam and coming out of SummerSlam in their matches with Rollins? And any teases of a split, and even Rollins kind of leaned into that during his promos with them a few weeks ago on Raw when they were having those matches, and we really haven't seen any of that since. And it's weird because there was a lot of talk about them splitting up, and they've barely been on Raw since then, so I don't know. Maybe there's a plan in place for them coming out of Clash of the Castle. I don't know. The Alpha Academy match was pretty random. They worked well together, and we've seen the match quite a bit this year. It was a good match, but it was just kind of random. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're planning because there was all this talk about them splitting up, and we've seen no follow-up and heard nothing about that since then. So that was kind of my top takeaway here. Anyway, we're in running down the card for Clash of the Castle on Saturday. Lawler picks Rollins to stomp Riddle's mat, or stomp his head into the mat, rather. So he picks Rollins to win that match, and they run down and preview the rest of the pay-per-view. And that was about it. They plugged the Hit Row, or, not the Hit Row. That sounds ridiculous. They plugged Hit Row and AJ Styles for the bump on Wednesday. So keep an eye out for that if interested. And that was Raw Talk in a nutshell for August 29, 2022. Not an overly eventful show, but I thought the promos from Edge and Judgment Day were great, especially after what we got on Raw itself. So kind of supplementary to what we get on Raw. And the other analysis from Jerry Lawler specifically, who gives a fuck what he thinks, but I thought this episode was worth watching alone for the Edge and Judgment Day promos, and if that's all you want to watch, then check out the promos on their own on the WWE YouTube channel. I think they always, as I've said before, they always upload the backstage interviews and nothing else from Raw Talk and the SmackDown Lowdown on their own YouTube channel. So if you don't want to sit through the whole 27-minute show, if you're already caught up on Raw, why would you want to watch this unless you're someone like me and you're psycho? Beyond that, just catch the interviews on the WWE YouTube channel. Speaking of the SmackDown Lowdown, I don't think they're doing an episode on Saturday because the pay-per-view was airing at 1 p.m. Eastern. Usually SmackDown Lowdown goes live on Peacock around noon Eastern time, so they kind of made the comment that they're going to be doing the pre-show for that pay-per-view, so I would be very surprised if they did a SmackDown Lowdown for SmackDown, which it's a loaded show. It sounds like a good show on paper, but it's a tape show. I don't know. Unless they do one for early Saturday morning or late Friday, I'll probably watch it regardless because there is stuff on SmackDown that has nothing to do with the pay-per-view. They'll probably break down on the SmackDown Lowdown. From the impression I got here, they're not doing it for this weekend. So we'll see if they do. I'll probably watch it and review it at some point. If not, then I won't. And I'm kind of hoping they don't. And I probably will not be breaking down SmackDown this week because the pay-per-view airs so quickly after SmackDown and they can't record on Friday night. So probably no SmackDown audio review this week and no SmackDown Lowdown, but keep an eye out here on the channel. The days to come, that might change. So thank you guys for checking out this video. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content, including new interviews being added all the time. I just uploaded my interview with Dwight Howard, NBA All-Star from yesterday, or from SummerSlam weekend. I uploaded it yesterday. We also had a chat go up with Rey Mysterio. That was a more recent interview from about a week ago. Went up here on the channel on Sunday. If you haven't already checked it out, please do so. And an article form over on dailyddt.com. Have an awesome rest of your week, guys. Enjoy Clash of the Castle on Saturday. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.